This week I'm going to look at an art show I just recently done called Seasons of Faith for My Heart. It was at St Laurence Church in Ramsgate, which is an extremely old building. It's remarkable because it's from 1062, this church has, and it's got so much details from stained glass windows to other features. I didn't want to just come in and dump my work in there and make it look like a traditional show. I wanted to actually incorporate my work within the space. And to do that, I looked at features, for example, like this cross with the actual socks on it, and what they actually do when baptizing somebody. They take the child's sock. So therefore, I did my interpretation here, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a moment. And I wanted to even do pieces like here to actually work within the chapel, working with the stained glass windows, which are opposite, and to actually make sure the space works with the pieces. It's the first time I've ever done a religious show, and this was to challenge myself. It's also the last show I did before turning 40, so it's deeply personal. First show I did earlier this year was talking about my queer journey, my being non-binary as like a kind of coming out, and emotions and things that I've actually had to deal with in that journey. This one was more about me being a queer religious person and my faith. And this particular piece is a triptych. It's called The Ascension, but it's kind of based from the point of Christ being crucified right up until a point of rising. There is layers upon layers of text and painting this that took months to paint. I wanted to get a deep red, which reminded me of wine and communion. I wanted the sun to come through with the gold, and where it does come through the chapel, it hits on the actual paintings and kind of projects back the light. I wanted this piece that I was just talking about here to complement the cross, and that was my footprint, and the idea of when you actually, because I got baptised as an adult, when you actually do cement yourself with faith, for you to do it a bit more solid than as a child's option. I wanted to put on this plinth, this rawness, the idea of the paint dripping to actually complement the idea of the sand. And this is just me with the piece to show you the actual scale of them as well, so they are rather big. What I love about this particular triptych is when it's dark in the evening, the pieces come out like you can see here. It's a bit more darker, the words stand out, but in the daytime with the light, the gold stands out more in the shimmer. So moving on to another space, this is the windows up in the little eave. You will see an angel that's hidden there. Again, I didn't want to do an angel as a typical cherub. I always think of it as something quite dark, quite creepy, quite scary if you actually were to see something like that, and you wouldn't understand. So I wanted to capture that feeling. And to put this up here, this was the idea of the message being to Mary, where this particular piece I did as a discipline over the actual Lent period, and for 40 days and 40 nights continuously painting, so it was layer upon layer, and it was, the image kept changing over that period of time. Well, on this particular piece, this is photography with collage, and I wanted to capture the church colours. As you can see, it's in this banner, but it's also in the tiny crosses there. This piece is something completely different for me, where I used the ashes from Ash Wednesday to make a cross, and actually it also incorporates my love of the moon, because I was travelling back and I wanted to do it in that kind of moon shape, and it also reminds me of a kind of Holy Communion disc. You had some fish there with the idea of Jesus being a fisherman, and then this particular piece that I done was, if Christ was to, for example, rise now, would we be too busy with anything, just taking a selfie, and that kind of selfie moment in the culture we live in. These pieces are more romantic for me, and these are more based on the idea of loss of somebody that you love deeply, where here we have Babel, and me feeling almost like sometimes do we push things too far. So I wrote this text and I did it in a monoprint technique on photo and a classic monoprint here on the actual paper. So it says, first there was the clouds, then there was the sky, then there was the moon, then there was space and beyond. Do we go too far? Babel. This is Maundy Thursday, and then we'll go on to one of my favourites here, which is always love, and it says husband, and it's the idea. I was thinking of when nuns feel like they're marrying to Christ. I was feeling like the loss, and then this one was on Easter as well with the actual sun. I used a lot of gold in this show, more gold than I ever done, and I do use gold, but the words again are mono printed on oil paintings, so it was nice to combine my paintings with that. And this was another installation piece where I used a collection of things and archives that I've actually collected over time, from my own easel to this incense holder and book, to actually the heart, which was actually made as an incense holder, and I made that out of clay and then put seaweed incense in it, so it would actually have the idea of prayer and thoughts going into actually the universe. I wanted this to be something that would relate to somebody who's religious or non-religious, and therefore I wanted touches of that in the actual show, where this one was for All Souls Day, and this was based upon my auntie. And then we're going to go on to All Saints Day next, which is of an angel which was hidden in this Alps, and this is another oil painting as well, which I just adored doing. The movement, it kind of came naturally, and that was a surprise. This one says God always love with a parakeet feather, and I wanted to kind of question the idea of immigration, people saying parakeets don't belong here, and the idea of love thy neighbour. So it does have love thy neighbour written in pencil just below, which you can see there, and the actual what is love is embroidered. The idea of taking time, the idea of mending, a stitch is mending, and actually putting that together. And I hope you like my show, and there will be more from me coming soon, as on the 7th of November I will be doing my final show of the year called Balance, and I will give you more details of that soon.